Good morning, this is Jim Williams with your Hurricane City Tropical Update for August 25th, 9 a.m. We're watching Hurricane Irene moving through the northwest Bahama Island chain. It's currently over at Eleuthera Island this morning, and there's the current position using the HWRF program. And you can see based on the latest fixes, looks like we do now begin to see the system moving more to the north-northwest as opposed to west-northwest, which would bring it close to the state of Florida, but it is now beginning to turn to the north, and it looks like Great Abaco Island going later on this afternoon and into the evening is going to get the worst conditions in the northwest Bahamas as it passes off to the north and starts making that turn to the north. And then the question is, who in the northeast is going to be affected by this system, or the mid-Atlantic for that matter? Let's go ahead and pan out the maps here and see what's going to happen as this approaches the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Let's go ahead and show you the entire forecast area here. Of course, New England, the Cape Cod is right at the top of your screen, and down here at the south, they're right where the Outer Banks are. Let's go ahead and animate the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center. This is based on the 5 a.m. advisory, and the system moves right up the coast and right into Long Island. And let's go ahead and go back a few positions here and see that it goes. The forecast now takes it directly over the Outer Banks of North Carolina. This is about 105 to 110 mile an hour hurricane, and then the system passes just offshore of New Jersey, but the backside of the hurricane force wind field should be right into Atlantic City, New Jersey, Cape May, New Jersey, right up the Jersey coast and right into Long Island as a 105 mile per hour hurricane. This is the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center, and again up into Rhode Island and up into Massachusetts. So all these areas are going to be affected here. This is going into Sunday. In fact, in the evening on Saturday, going into Sunday evening in the overnight hours. And so this would be happening in the dark, which is not a good situation, especially on Long Island. You don't want something coming in the nighttime like that with the rising waters and everything else. So we'll just watch this system very closely. Things can change. We're going to get into the models in just a minute. Let's take a look at the floater loop of our system, and you can see that it's not real well organized. Yesterday it was a little bit better organized, but we still have an official Category 3 hurricane moving through Eleuthera, heading towards Abaco Island. Our current feature is Eleuthera Island, where you can get the latest information from the Bahamas. We've been streaming the Bahama Radio Network for the past several days as this has been moving through the Bahamas. We'll have recordings of that and edit that down for our archive subscribers once this system has moved on and we have time to edit that file down, because this may or may not have huge major impacts on the east coast of the United States. It's still a little bit up in the air on that. I'll show you the reason for that, because there's a few models that are off coast, and you know there are other possibilities. So this could end up being the hardest hit area is the Bahamas. So we're recording this and we'll have it available for our archive subscribers at a later date. Let's take a look at the water vapor imagery. This is very important to the future of Hurricane Irene. And I know there's a little blip in the screen, but what we have going on here is we have a deep trough right here. You'll notice it right up here, and it's moving up into should be moving just north of the state of New York and into New Brunswick, and this is going to strengthen a little bit as it does so, and the hook is coming down here that's going to grab this and pull it off to the north. And the question is, how much offshore is this going to be? Is it going to come inland? A lot of models want to take the system just offshore the Outer Banks and then slingshot it back north right into New England. So there's a lot of possibilities here. But the hook is coming. This is going to make the turn. It's not coming to Florida. It's not coming to Georgia or South Carolina. But North Carolina on north will probably have to deal with, at the very least, tropical storm conditions out of this. And at the very most, we could be dealing with gusts to major hurricane force as it affects the northeast. So this is a very serious situation. I want everybody up in the northeast and mid-Atlantic to be prepared for hurricane conditions, because that looks like that's what's going to happen. All right, let's get to the models on this. And first of all, I wanted to talk about the wind shear and the reason why this system is struggling a little bit to really intensify. Now, the forecast still calls for it to get up near Category 4 strength when it's right near Abaco Island later on this evening. But right now, according to the University of Wisconsin shear maps, we have a high-pressure system that's kind of off to the southwest of the circulation, the eye of Hurricane Irene, and that's kind of blowing the tops off to the northeast. Now, several models are indicating that the wind shear is going to increase a little bit up in here as it approaches North Carolina, so the intensity has been backed off slightly. We're not talking major hurricane in there. We're talking probably Category 2 strength right up the coast. But this is subject to change. This could be weaker or it could be stronger. The intensity forecast has been the best with the HWRF model. I'll get to that in just a minute. Here's the situation in the Bahamas with the potential for storm surge. It is currently high tide right now in Luther Island, which is our current feature right here. They are experiencing high tide. Low tide is today at 1 o'clock, but by then the system should be pulling away towards Abaco Island. But most of the southwest winds would be behind that, so it would be happening as the tides are going down where the worst surge potential could be coming in. So that's the good news for Luther Island. And then Abaco, they would also be in a low tide situation with a high tide coming in as it's pulling away. So Abaco might actually get a worse storm surge on the west-facing beaches of Abaco rather than Eleuthera down here to the south. So we'll keep an eye on that, but they're reporting really heavy damage down in the Bahamas, roofs blown off, government buildings affected, trees down, power lines down, the whole, like what you would expect with a major hurricane. A lot of bad news coming out of the Bahamas. So far, no reports of any fatalities, but it's a little early here, and we have yet to find out what happened on all these islands. So everybody in Abaco and Grand Bahama Island listening, batten down the hatches. It's coming. It's going to be there shortly. Now, Nassau reported recently a gust to 67 miles an hour, and there was an unofficial report of about 100. So it's got a quite expansive wind field. In fact, here in Delray Beach, we've had winds out of the north gusting all morning. We've had some rain showers moving in, and this system is well over 200 miles away. So this is what you can expect even on the backside. Over 200 miles away, you can still get rain out of the system. Right, here was the forecast track from yesterday from the National Hurricane Center, and you can notice the system was right off the Outer Banks going into the northeast. Now today, this morning, it's shifted to the west. We see it right over the Outer Banks and heading right into Long Island, New York, and right up into Massachusetts. So that track is shifted west, and the reason for that is that several of the models are indicating that have indicated a west shift, and I'm going to show you the best performers in just a minute. But a word of caution for everybody up in the northeast. This was the official forecast, not the official, but these were the model runs from August 20th. And you can see here, Florida was in the bullseye. Everybody thought this was coming to Florida. This is when Irene was out east of the islands. And then we go day by day, and look here, it's further offshore. This is the 21st, and then we go up to the 22nd, and it's even further offshore. Then we go to the models on the 24th, and they're offshore North Carolina heading up in towards Nova Scotia. And now yesterday's model runs, they shifted back to the west a little bit. And now if we look at today's models, there they are. They're kind of spread. We have the Canadian out here wanting to take it generally towards Cape Cod and up towards Nova Scotia. And we have the GFDL way inland here over Pennsylvania and western New York. So there's a wide range of possibilities here. That's quite a spread in models once it gets up near North Carolina as to where it's going to go from there. So let's take a look at the Euro first of all. Here was the Euro from yesterday's model run. This is today's model run, the 28th, which is Sunday. They have this right over the Outer Banks as a pretty significant hurricane here, right around Cat 3. That's the official forecast from not the official, but this is the forecast, the European model forecast. Now, the European model is a very good model. It's one of the best, if not the best, global model out there, and it takes it right over the Outer Banks. And then here we go. This was yesterday's. I wanted to compare yesterday's model run to today. This was yesterday's Euro, showing it right up over New York as a weakening system. But look at today's model of the same date. This is going into Monday, so we have a much stronger system here right over New York City. That's the official from the ECMWF. I got to stop saying official when I say ECMWF, but you know what I mean. The ECMWF forecast has showed this moving almost due north into the northeast as a significant system, and the Euro is a very good model, so we need to pay very close attention to that. Now here is the HWRF. Now this is the best performing model on intensity. going out 72 hours. Now, figuring we're going to have hurricane conditions up in the Northeast in 72 hours, we decided to use the 72-hour models to see which model has been performing at best at 72 hours. And that's the HWRF at 8.7 knots, about 10 miles an hour off at 72 hours. That's been the best performer. And this takes it right into New York City as a 85 mile per hour hurricane. So that could be 10 miles off, give or take. It could be 75 or it could be 95 miles per hour as it heads in there. HWRF, very, very good model. Now let's take a look at the ran all the models on the tropicalatlantic.com site here on the model map. Ran 58 model runs. Now these were models that take it either out to sea, over land, but at any rate they get up past 40 degrees north. So that excluded some models, but 58 models were included in this run. And the most, of all the tracks that pan out the most popular track amongst all the models is for this to move into the Outer Banks or eastern North Carolina and right up into Long Island and New Jersey and go straight north. So the majority of the models, 43% of the models taken in that direction. Only 6%, about 7% of the models actually take it off the coast of North Carolina and then up towards the Canadian Maritimes up here. That's only about 7% of the models. And then you look at models that take it offshore North Carolina but that bend it back towards the Northeast, we're only talking about 12% of the models that do that. And then the second most popular set of model runs have it staying off the coast of North Carolina and hitting Cape Cod. They're heading into New Brunswick and Maine up in here. So that's about 38% of the models that show that kind of a run. So you ask, well, which is the best model of all these models that we've been running? And we talked about this on the Hurricane Watch show last night. The AEMI continues to be the best performing model going out 72 hours. And there's the track of the AEMI. That takes it offshore North Carolina, east tip of Long Island, and right into Cape Cod. This model's only been off by 89.1 miles at 72 hours. So it could be over here just on the east tip of Cape Cod, or it could be further to the west towards New York City. That's the spread in that model at 72 hours. But this is the best performing model by far of all the models that have been run on this map. The second best performing model has been the AVNI, which is basically the GFS model with additional information put into it. And that is over the Outer Banks and right into New York City. So that's the second best performing model at 101 miles off. So two of the best models affect the Northeast. One takes it over Cape Cod, the other one takes it over New York City. So everybody needs to be prepared up in that area for hurricane conditions, definitely. All right, let me show you a couple more images here. Here are the pressures from yesterday. Now, we showed this on the Hurricane Watch show as well. I was a little bit concerned about the pressures last night because they were beginning to rise out here. We thought we were going to see falling pressures with a trough coming off. And what's happening, we have the trough coming out here. It's weakening. The pressures are falling down here on the eastern seaboard, which would allow this system to turn north. But what's happening out here is the pressures have gone up a little bit. Here we are, 1022, 1020, 1019, 1017. That's the high pressure that stops it from going in this direction. Now let's go and look at today's pressures out there. We still have 1021 millibars, 1017, 1030. So the pressures are beginning to fall over here on the East Coast, but they're still kind of strong out here. So I think this is going to, it's obviously going to turn north, but there's not a blocking ridge out here. It's not going to get stopped and shoved into the southeast. That's just not going to happen. But the pressures are high enough out here to where it's not going to re-hook off to the northeast, I don't think. I think this is going to be straddling the coast of the United States. All right, well, that's it for now. Tune in to HurricaneCity.tv for continued coverage of Hurricane Irene. We'll be back with the Hurricane Watch Show again tonight, 9 p.m. right here on HurricaneCity.tv. We'll be talking Hurricane Irene, taking your phone calls. And then, of course, the Hurricane Warning Show will take place once this is hitting land. When the core of the hurricane is hitting land, we will begin the Hurricane Warning Show. Well, that's it for now. Thank you again for visiting Hurricane City.